Hello and welcome to another day in paradise, and welcome to another edition of the Unapologetic Negropian. In today's video, it seems as though the scamming in the Gambia just does not want to stop. Yes, tales are coming out of the Gambia once again of people being misled and conned out of their hard-earned money. But on this occasion, it seems as though this tale has a happy ending. Once again, I'm bringing you a tale of scamming in the Gambia, but today's story is a little different. The story probably involves one of the largest donations from one single person. The story is long, protracted and detailed. It involves multiple parties from 3 continents, 5 different countries and multiple parties, some of whom you already know. And thankfully this time it doesn't involve the Black Acres of the Gambia. Okay, well, maybe it involves them just a little bit. How does it involve them? Well, we're going to get into the story right now. We're going to try and unravel it for you so we can find out just who is guilty of taking this money. But first, I'm going to ask you to please like, subscribe, share, click the bell notification, and please consider supporting the channel on our Patreon, link in the description. So you probably saw the thumbnail and you thought, what, Renee Marcus? Sammy's treasure? Hamans Jallow? What is going on? Well, one of these 3 people are guilty of misappropriating funds from Hamans Jallow's charity fund. That's right, it seems as though these 3 people, including one more person, has been implicated into the misappropriation of funds meant for Hamans Jallow and family. Well, wait a minute. Hamans Jallow? How can Hamans Jallow steal his own funds? Well, that's exactly what he is being accused of. This story is far from straightforward and it's going to take us quite some time to unravel. Guys, sit back, relax, get your thinking caps on, because you're going to have to do some thinking as well, because you're going to have to do a little bit of work with me on this one. So where does this all begin? Well, a few months ago I was contacted by a lady, an African American lady from the United States, and her name was Nadia. This lady had told me that she was in a bit of a predicament. You see, one day she was scanning through YouTube and she managed to stumble upon the YouTube account of Hamans Jallow. This was around fall of last year, so this was a time when he had just gotten back on his own 2 feet after being fired by the Black Acres of the Gambia. Now, of course, there were many people that were angered by the actions of the Black Acres of the Gambia simply because Hamans Jallow didn't do anything wrong. Hamans Jallow comes across on the screen as being a very likable, very pleasant, hard-working person. He seems as though he is a person with integrity and honor, and people could see this. People loved this. And of course, Ricks from Bags did not like that. When many of these people wanted to pull together to make sure that Haman was taken care of, because these people knew that Ricks from the Black Acres of the Gambia was as tight as a pair of leather pants in a Berlin nightclub. They wanted to know Haman's details so they could send him money directly. Now, of course, Ricks and Cynthia from the Black Acres of the Gambia are a bunch of opportunists. So they saw this as their opportunity to try and make a little bit of money out of it. Ricks and Cynthia told these people that Haman would not be able to take money directly. Ricky and Cynthia offered these people that wanted to give this money to Haman a third-party agreement, so they would send the money to Cynthia's account and then Cynthia would then give the money to Haman. Now, of course, we know what's going to happen in this case, don't we? We know that Cynthia, as soon as she got that money, she started spending it. She took 30% of everything without telling anybody that she was going to do so. And of course, this angered the people that she was getting this money through, because she didn't tell anybody that she was going to do this. So most of you guys already know what happened next. Haman was eventually fired after he had an interview with Renee Marcus. Now, after he was fired, he needed a way to support himself and to support his family. And Renee Marcus and a host of other people that had watched and seen this story got together and started giving Haman some support in the form of donations so that he could start his new life. One of these people that was willing to give up their hard-earned money to help out Haman was an African American lady by the name of Nadia. Now this is her pseudonym, okay? Nadia got in direct contact with Haman and started speaking to him via email. She didn't hesitate to offer Haman help in the form of a pretty large donation. She first gave him a couple of hundred here, a couple of hundred there, and then in the end she just said, listen, go sort yourself out, here's $5,000 as a loan. Now she knew that this wasn't going to be a loan that she would be getting back. She just called it a loan so that Haman could put himself in a situation that would give him added impetus to pay the money back. But she didn't expect to have the money back. So while she called it a loan, the money was really a large gift. She also helped out Haman by starting up other fundraising platforms for him like GoFundMe and Patreon. Now we're going to get a little bit into the crooks and crannies of the deal that was made between Nadia and Haman Jallow. You see, Nadia didn't want to just give him the money and say, oh, there you go, hey ho, good luck. She told him, listen, you need to make money with this money. How are you going to do this? So Haman told her how he was going to do it. What I'm going to do for you right now is I'm going to read for you some of the correspondence that Nadia sent directly to Haman Jallow. We're going to start from the beginning. So her first communication was an email, and it goes like this. Dear Haman, please allow me to introduce myself. I am a Black American retiree that is intrigued by what is happening in the Gambia. After watching your videos, I have been impressed by your progress and purpose. A recent video with Renee Marcus mentioned that you're trying to buy a plot of land to get started. I want to help and sponsor you. What are your plans? How much money do you require to get started, and what is the market opportunity? This, of course, is a golden opportunity, because rarely do you get somebody telling you, hey, I'm going to buy a piece of land for you. This is your golden start. And of course, Haman Jallow realized this. So Haman replied, thank you so much for this nice email. I truly appreciate this love and support. Never felt so loved and veiled, but I believe he means valued, until I joined YouTube to understand how much people care about me. See you all like family. Since I knew myself, I have always wanted to work hard to improve myself, as I was born in poverty, and I surely don't want to die in poverty. I want to make it to support my parents and also others like me. I saw a land which is my dream to have. The land is 25 meters by 20 meters. It's not far from the beach, and it is already fenced and has a well for water. This land is 300,000 dalasi, which is estimated to be around 5,802 American dollars. My startup, I wish I could have 200,000 dalasi, which is $3,868. With the little I am having from my YouTube family and what I am getting from work, it is not too much, but I am saving. It's not easy, but I believe the good Lord would help. So this Nadia made an arrangement with Haman Jallow to loan this money. Officially it was a loan, okay? But we all know that she wasn't expecting to have it back. The only thing Nadia wanted was for Haman Jallow to show proof that he wasn't misappropriating the funds. She didn't want him taking the money and spunking it down at the local strip bar. So what she did is she made an arrangement for Haman Jallow to send proof that he was spending the money on things that are going to help him to build a future for himself and his family. Haman Jallow, of course, agreed. He agreed to use the money for multiple reasons. For one, to help buy this piece of land so he could build a house and build a farm. Number two, he wanted to have a fishing boat. Haman Jallow's father was a fisherman, but the boat had been out of commission for quite some time because it took on so much water. So they had to buy a new boat. That was what some of this money was going to be used for. Now I had to endure 26 minutes of a video produced by Delightful D in order to see what was her take on what happened over there in the Gambia, but unfortunately I kind of knew how it was going to turn out. You see, Delightful D, God bless her soul, she's a lovely girl, but damn, her videos It's like watching paint dry. If I looked at the people that were involved in this equation, I knew who Delightful D was going to be pointing the fingers at by the end of her video. I knew that before I even started her video, because there are a number of women involved in this and there's only one guy. And if you know Delightful D, you're going to know that her videos are pretty much always pro-woman. She's a bit of a feminist, isn't she? So I just knew at the end of the video she was going to be pointing the fingers at Haman Jallow. Not exactly free, fair and impartial, is she? In her video she omits actually quite a lot of evidence which suggests that Haman actually was totally innocent. She omits the fact that Haman can't take out money for himself. He has no way of being able to send money to himself. Because Haman does not have a PayPal, he doesn't have a real bank account back over there in the Gambia either. And even if he did, it's not accepted by PayPal. You know, you can't send money from a PayPal in the United States into a bank account in the Gambia. Haman needs to rely on other people in order to get that money. And so he relied on Renee Marcus. This is where the problems start. You see, it was Renee Marcus's job to essentially administer the money. It was her job to make sure that the money gets collected and gets sent over to Haman over there in the Gambia. The only way this could be sent was a wire transfer, Western Union. Another thing that Delightful D does, she omits the fact that Haman can't take this money out. So whenever you see these receipts and it says money has been taken out by Haman Jallow, it doesn't really mean literally Haman Jallow. It means a third party who is taking it out on behalf of Haman Jallow. Haman Jallow cannot cash out this account. He has nowhere to cash it out into. It's these glaring inconsistencies in Delightful D's video which raised a few eyebrows, and because it was clear that she was being biased. Things seemed to be going swimmingly, and then the problem initially started with Haman. You see, what Haman had promised he was not giving to Nadia. He had promised to make sure that he bought a new boat. But when he showed pictures of the boat that he was buying, it was clear that it wasn't a new boat. What it was Haman Jallow's old boat which had been refurbished. It also became apparent that the land that he had bought didn't cost as much as he first stated. It was larger and it was a different shape, which is okay, right? I mean, he still bought the land. Another thing he did though was he didn't build one house on that piece of land. He started building two, which was going to make it more difficult for him to do any type of farming on that land or to raise livestock. Now, Haman Jallow is 21 years old and he's not educated. So we could tell by the way he was handling the money that it was going to be difficult for him. It was going to be difficult to communicate with Nadia over there in the United States. The only person that knew the circumstances the best of Haman Jallow was Haman Jallow himself. He was the person on the ground, because Renee Marcus couldn't watch over Haman Jallow from the United Kingdom. Nadia was still in the United States. Haman Jallow, 21-year-old, uneducated man, had to take care of the money himself. And I think he did pretty well with it. He bought livestock, he bought the land, took care of the boat. It may not have been the boat that they wanted, but he took care of it anyway. So it wasn't like he was just spunking the money, popping bottles in the club or something. He was using that money for good. He even started building a second house. That's a good thing, right? That's bricks and mortar. You're going to build two properties on that land. So whatever he was planning to do, whatever you saw him doing, he was making money from it. It may not have been the way Nadia had set out in this contract, but it was a good start. The second problem is the amount of parties that were involved in Haman getting his money. So you had people donating into one place, and then one person was shifting this money into another account, and then this person was taking this money and then sending it via wire over to Haman. There was too many parties. There was 4 parties altogether. That's if you don't include the agency where he collected the money from. So it was a process where he was always going to lose a certain amount of money. But the amount of money that he was losing just wasn't adding up. In some cases, he could see that there was money being siphoned out of that account. Haman started asking questions, of course, to the main person who had her hands in the money, and that was Renee Marcus. He started questioning where this money was going. He initially approached Nadia and said to her, listen, I'm not sure what's happening with this money. We're going to have to do something about this because I believe that Renee Marcus is misappropriating the funds and using it for herself. So he froze Renee Marcus out of the account because he believed that Renee Marcus was taking that money. In fact, there is out and out proof that she was taking this money from the account. There is £1,850 that she had taken out that she apparently used for an airplane ticket back to the Gambia. Now, I don't have any proof that she took it out for these reasons, but she was able to produce receipts herself once she realized that she had been frozen out of the account because she was being implicated in the theft of that money. So she started bringing out receipts, but the whole thing is that the receipts didn't add up. The amount of money that she had in receipts, the amount of money that was inside these accounts, well, it just didn't add up. There was money missing. Now, Renee Marcus, of course, was startled by this, apparently. Well, she said she was startled by this, and she said she didn't want to be implicated in this because Hamans once again was saying, hey, wait a minute, Renee Marcus is taking this money. That's who he was pointing his finger at. But Renee Marcus did the opposite. She started pointing her fingers at Hamans and saying, wait a minute, I did send you that money. Here's the receipts. But the whole point is that she didn't send enough receipts. There is no definitive proof that she sent all the money to Haman. So Renee Marcus got a little scared and sent an email to Nadia. Now, this email is the most perplexing thing that I have seen, and I'm going to show you why at the end of reading part of it. So I'm going to read you some extracts out of the, I would say, pretty cheeky email sent to Nadia from Renee Marcus, and I'm going to see what you make of this. So this is where Nadia contacted me simply because she felt threatened by Renee Marcus when Renee Marcus sent her this email, and it reads, "Don't feel threatened, as I am not threatening you. You have helped Haman and given Haman so much more than he received from his subs, which I appreciated because you helped a brother. Now he is going around telling people I bought flight tickets and I am friends with you, which both are lies. When you came in Haman's life, everyone appreciated you. But when Haman told you lies about me, you couldn't speak to me about it, even when I have asked you to help with this PayPal because I am a very busy." So feeling threatened by this message, Nadia sends out an email to other YouTubers so that she could get her story out there. Now, it's important to find out which YouTubers she sent these emails to see how they reacted, because the reality is the community, the Gambian YouTube community, is quite small, it's quite compact. They all know each other. This is where Sammy's treasure comes into it, because Nadia sent an email to Sammy's treasure. However, Sammy's treasure reacted in a rather strange way. She reacted in a way almost as if she was trying to help Renee Marcus. She didn't reply to Nadia, but we all know that she is quite tight with Renee Marcus. So clearly she would have communicated this information to Renee, and this is where things get a little sticky. The problem is this lady has pretty deep pockets. And how deep do you think I mean? Well, she sent $7,500 to a YouTuber because she kind of liked him. In fact, this is how I know she has deep pockets. I had a deep conversation with her, and she was talking about how her man wanted to go out and start fishing again and compete with the Chinese trawlers out there, these huge sea-going trawlers that go across the sea, and they take it from China, they go all the way across to Africa, they get the licenses and they start fishing off the coast. So this lady was like, well, That's no problem. We're going to have to take a look into what kind of trawlers that we have about. A trawler! She wanted to buy Hamans a trawler. Needless to say, I'm not sure why this woman believes that she would be in some sort of trouble. I know that she is a proud African American. In fact, if you omit the amount of money that she put inside the GoFundMe and everything else, even the rest of the money, the vast majority of that money came from African American, which is strange because you would have thought that, hey, this is people that were trying to get back at the Black Acres of the Gambia, and the Black Acres of the Gambia have a strong hold on the African American community, but this wasn't so. The African American community were the ones that were so gracious to give their hard-earned money to Hamans. And this lady, being an African American, also didn't even think twice about giving Hamans that start in life, which was an amazing thing for her to do, if I need to be honest with you. So why would she be afraid? I think she was just paranoid about what was going on in regards to African Americans going into West Africa and scamming people. Actually, we spoke about this personally. She did not want to put the name of another African American in disrepute. She didn't want to be another African American scammer going over to the Gambia and taking advantage of other diasporans. I don't know why she would have thought that way, but she was scared about this. And I think this is really, really wonderful of her. It just shows you how pure her heart is. So we're going to take these people, Nadia, Hamans, Sammys Treasure, Renee Marcus, and we're going to break it down right now. We're going to find out who I believe is responsible for what has happened over there in the Gambia, who's taken that money. We're going to start off with Renee Marcus. Do I believe Renee Marcus took that money? Yes, I do. I believe she took that money. And this is really sad for me because in my eyes, she's still a queen, okay? I love Renee Marcus. However, I do believe that she had a certain amount of money there. There's no reason for Hamans to convert this money into British pounds. However, she could have taken that money out herself and sent it to Hamans. But why would you do it that way for? I don't know. She had a certain amount of money there and it was in her hands. So why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she use it to spend and buy an aeroplane ticket? This is just my opinion. It doesn't mean that she definitely did it, okay? So I'm saying this out loud right now. It's just my opinion. I think she took £1,850 for an aeroplane ticket. Sammy's Treasure. I think Sammy's Treasure is guilty by association. I think she's sly. She's a very sly human being. You could see the way she reacted when she got the email from Nadia. I think it's kind of pathetic the way she did that. She could have just been open and honest and said, listen, I want nothing else to do with this. She's replied to Nadia, I'll get back to you. And then she's clearly gone to her friend Renee Marcus and given her the warning. So I think she has implicated herself in these matters simply by not being open and honest when someone was contacting her in good faith. Nadia. I think Nadia is the most innocent person in this whole equation. Clearly, I'm not even sure how these people have manipulated her to the point in which she feels guilty because she feels that she has the whole weight of the African American community on her shoulders. She's gone in, yes, she has money, and she's gone to put it down to help out this African brother, and all of a sudden people are looking at her and saying, well, you know, what have you done? What have you done now? Like, you've come in, we had something going on, okay, we only had a little bit of money, we could have done without your large sums of money. Bollocks! What has happened is that they have taken that money and they don't want to be found out. That is what's happened, and they need to point fingers at somebody. So Renee Marcus and Sammy's Treasure are pointing it at the other people in the equation. I love Renee Marcus. Renee Marcus actually lives in a place called Coventry in the United Kingdom. It's literally a stone throw from where I grew up. I'm not sure if you know Coventry, but Coventry is like, I don't know, it's one of those random places. I'm not even sure why she would have moved to Coventry. Why Coventry? It's one thing I'm going to ask right now. Why do Africans tend to move to the most random places? It's like, come on. I remember meeting on a plane when I was flying back from Banjul to London. I met a lady who was living in Scotland, and I was in a conversation with her, and I said to her, okay, then where are you going? You know, you're going to Edinburgh, you're going to Glasgow? She's like, no, I'm going to the Outer Hebrides. She was like, no, I'm going to the Shetland Islands in the Outer Hebrides. Where? Why are you doing that? Why are you going there? She must be the only black person in 1,000 miles, really, but random places that they go, and they just have no fear. They'll just go there and they'll start up their little businesses. She was selling African art there as well. Where, on the Shetland Islands? I didn't even know the island was populated, but that's what she was doing. Fair play to them. African continentals, they just have no fear, do they? Hamans Jallow. Hamans Jallow is guilty. He's guilty as well. I think it's easy to sit back and take a look at the people involved and say, you've all messed around. You've all messed around with Nadia's money. It's not like it was a king's ransom or something. It was like $15,000 in total, I believe, Haman received from this lady. And you know, this woman, of course, like I said before, she's got deep pockets. She was like, yeah, I'm glad he used it for some good. See you later, I'm out of here. I spoke to her the other day. She doesn't care about it. She needs to be careful, because this is the sort of place where people, as we have been speaking over the last year, you guys already know how sly some of these people are. They'll do everything in their power to try and take money, especially of people who they know has money. And so Nadia has taken a step back now, which I'm very happy about, and she made sure she didn't use her real details because she doesn't want people contacting her, asking her for this, that and the other. So it's a happy situation for Nadia. She's moving on with her life. She's not going to get involved with this anymore, and I'm very happy to say that she's happy as well, that Hamans Jallow has made something out of the money. I mean, he still bought the land, he's still got a fishing boat, he's still building 2 properties now at this present moment. He should be able to build those properties using the money that he gets from YouTube. Things are good. Things are all good, luckily. However, guys, what can we learn from this? Guys, don't send your money to the Gambia. I've already said this a million times. Don't do that unless you are certain about the person who you are sending that money to. Try and do it a lot like Nadia. She sent an amount of money that she knew she wouldn't get back. It wasn't an investment, it was a donation, okay? She hid it in the form of an investment. She hid it in the form of a loan. However, for her, it was a gift. Here, do what you want to do with it. This is your one chance in your life. You're not going to get somebody giving you $7,500 for no reason, okay? So she told this to a guy, and she told it to a guy who really had no idea how to handle those funds. Hamans Jallow was a person who was given that money, and he hasn't used it to the best of its ability, okay? Let's just say that. But he hasn't totally spunked it either. He has done well with it. I'm sure he would have saved some of that money as well. Is Haman guilty? I think he's definitely guilty. He's guilty through ignorance. He just didn't know what to do with it. So that's my take on things. So guys, who do you think is guilty? Who do you think took that money? Do you think Haman took the money and then started pointing his fingers at Renee Marcus? Do you think Sammy's treasure warned Renee Marcus and then asked Renee Marcus for a little under the table backhander? Do you think that Renee Marcus took the money herself, used it for herself, and then started to blame Hamans Jallow? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. It would be really good to hear what you have to say about this. Okay guys, so that's all I have time for today. I'd like to thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I'd like to give an extra special thank you to my Patreon subscribers. So until the next time, please think twice. Ta-ra a bit.